Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Yes. Welcome to listenvisionlive.com. I hope you're on there, Sisters in Company, talking about it live. And we are so happy to be here today and that you decided to join us.
Yes, we are. I'm just happy to be here myself. You know, I had a long weekend, but, I'm making it work.
Yes.
You got to do what you got to do.
That's right. And as we customarily do, we start our show with scripture. And the scripture today is Ephesians 2:10. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God hath before ordained that we should walk in. And that particular scripture is going to be important as we welcome our company today, who are going to be two dynamic ladies who will come on later in the show. And our topic is going to be Millennials Parent 2. I am Dr. Sharon Cradle, and I am your co-host. I am going to give it to you straight, but with a little chaser.
And I am Sherelle Higgins, your favorite co-host of the show, Sisters in Company, talking about it. I am just so thankful that you all have decided to join us for yet another Sunday.
Yes.
I appreciate you all logging into listenvisionlive.com and really just sitting back. You know what? Just have a beer. What the heck? Have a beer and enjoy the show.
Yeah. Yes. And so what we normally do is start off with a recap, and that's what we're going to do today. Last week, we talked about parenting, and it was a very interesting conversation. Our guest company was Dr. Stephanie Cradle, who wrote the book, Good Daddies. And so some highlights that I walked away with from that conversation is, your actions and your words will propel your children into their future. Mind your mind, parents. Mind your words. And mind your actions, because your children are watching you more than what you think. And speak your truth to children. Tell children the truth, but with love.
And I know that was a slide in there. Remember last week we were talking about doing as I say, not as I do. And as I said last week, and I'll repeat again this week, I am an adult, and my kids cannot do what I do all the time. And so, although I do try to model the behavior that I want them to follow. We talked last week about the children doing the high school walkout on April the 20th and how we parent our kids through that process and making sure that they understand exactly what's going on, not just walking out of school because they can miss class, but the whole purpose behind it and making sure that they understand the significance of their actions.
That is right. And we didn't get an opportunity last week to just bid Black History Month farewell, so to speak, but Black history is every day. So we didn't really have to bid it farewell. But I do want to just kind of close out Black History Month in talking about one of the things that we just did not talk about, and is so important, is that we elected the first African-American president of the United States of America.
Yes, we did.
President Barack Hussein Obama. And he served from 2009 to 2017. Yes. And so we that's the way I want to end it. And now that we're in Women's History Month, it goes to say that we also had our first African American First Lady of the
Yes.
United States of America, Michelle Obama. And I absolutely just love everything about that woman. We are the same age. We are both from the south side of Chicago. And as Ira would say to you, we both married men who were left-handed.
Okay, get your plug in there, brother-in-law. However you got to do it.
That's right. That's right.
That is funny. I tell you, I could not have been prouder
Yes.
when Barack Obama was elected the president.
Yes.
I remember the song that was playing on the radio when I came out of the voting booth. On the radio, Tom Joyner was playing "Ain't No Stopping Us Now."
That's right.
And every time I hear that song, I just get so sized up. I
Yes.
was just way too excited about that.
Yes. And for Black History Month, also, that I don't think has gotten a lot of publicity, the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum opened on December 9th, 2017. And that's a historic event in Mississippi, and it's going to share the stories of the Mississippi movement during the Civil Rights era that changed the world. And it is located in Jackson, Mississippi. And so if you're ever in Mississippi or you're looking for somewhere to go that you've never been, you may want to consider going to Jackson, Mississippi to check out the Civil Rights Museum that opened in 2017.
Okay, and now that it's March 4th, it is very timely to talk about two things that are near and dear to me. The first thing is women,
Yes.
because it's Women's History
Yes.
Month, and the second thing is beer. Did you know that it was a woman who invented beer?
Oh, really?
Yes, in Egypt. And
Wow. Not surprised.
yeah, they were brewing beer from ancient times, and it was only after the Black Plague that men started claiming beer. The brewing industry might still be seen by many as bearded boys club. However, the term brewsters was coined as a medieval term for female brewers. So beer is near and dear to me. I like beer. It tastes so good. When it's cold, I just like beer. Not necessarily for the intoxication purposes. It just tastes good. And so, I think it's great to kick the Women's History Month off talking about women who invented beer.
Yes. And last week, we had some technical difficulties with our phone system, and we're ready to rock and roll today. So we thank you all who have chimed in on Facebook, who's left us questions. And what we want to do is we're going to start out with our sister chat.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
With our sister chat, a gentleman, and I want to say that it was Ryan Brown on Facebook, he sent us a question and asked us, what did we think about the Ray Caruth situation? And I didn't know what he was talking about, but it was Ray Caruth. He's in jail. He was an NFL player. He played for the Carolina Panthers, and he was convicted of second-degree attempted murder of his girlfriend at the time, who was carrying his child. The mother did not survive, but the child did, and the child came out disabled, has cerebral palsy and everything. And so he is scheduled to get out of prison October of this year. And so he petitioned the court to try to get custody of his now 18-year-old child. And so, Ryan, I don't know if you want to call in, but thank you for that question. So as I thought about it, I thought to myself, I don't think that's a good idea. I thought about it from a couple fronts. First of all, Ray Caruth, I'm not sure, where he's going to get his money from, if he still has money. He has to figure out how he's going to take care of himself first. And also, how do you even, talk to your child about, well, I plotted to have your mom killed, and as a result, you weren't born and you are now disabled. And, the grandmother, who was the daughter's mother, is taking care of this child. And why would you want custody of the child who's disabled that you don't know anything about? You're not prepared to take care of a child like that. And why should you? Why should you be the one? That is the question that I would ask Ray Caruth. And so, no, I don't agree that Ray Caruth should have custody of his 18-year-old child. The child is 18, but is disabled. So, those children that have disabilities of that magnitude, they have to be cared for the rest of their lives. And so I just don't think that he should have custody of that child.
Well, that's interesting. I'm kind of on the fence, so I'm about to go round and round about this. I'm on the one hand, do I think he should come out of jail and immediately get custody? No, he shouldn't. But should he be required, if he wants custody of his child, to go through some extensive counseling and some parental training and be required to develop a relationship with the child first before he attempts to take custody of the child? I think at some point, when you have paid your debt to society and you come out, I think we got to give each other a second chance. Sometimes we just make really horrible decisions. And so, I think you got to put in the work up front, Ray. I don't think you should come out and immediately get custody because, with any child, change is complicated. But when you start talking about a disabled child, change becomes that much more complicated. And to, pull him out of his environment that he's accustomed to, away from his grandmother, I don't think is the best idea. But I do think that you should have an opportunity to participate in the child's life after you get some, serious counseling and some parental training and really start to develop a relationship with that child. Second chances are everything, y'all. We have got to get to a place in this country where we start forgiving and moving past it. Some decisions are horrible. Yes, anytime you take somebody's life, that is a horrible, horrible thing. But if you pay your debt to society and society didn't say that you got to, stay in there until we execute you or until you die, if we let you out, we got to give you a second chance.
Now, isn't that interesting? That's normally some of the things I would say.
That's CIAA rubbing off on me.
No, that's me rubbing off on you. And I'm like, okay, no, that's a whole different ball game. And, we can't be the judge or the jury. That's up to God. But I can't see it. I can't see him having custody of his child and he's saying, well, I just made a mistake by killing your mother. and tried to kill you too. So God is powerful and he can do all things. And so I just found that interesting that you would come from that angle and I'm coming from a different angle. So I don't know about that. But anyway, so thank you, Ryan. I don't know if you want to call in and ask us, a different question or extend that conversation. But if so, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, I don't know. This country is so divided, y'all. I just think we just have to get to a place where we start loving each other more than we hate each other and start forgiving each other more than we, not forgive each other. And that we really start embracing and supporting, people and doing better when they know better. And so, yes, again, let me not take anything off the table when it comes to the horrible crime that he committed in taking that child's mother. That is like next to spitting. That is the worst thing that you could do to somebody is kill them. Spitting is, I don't know, that's a whole nother thing. I read an article in the paper today that said this man spit on this black child and called him a racial slur.
Oh, wow.
And they were at a party where it was multiple adults and the comments were hilarious because people were like, you mean to tell me it was 35 people there and he walked out alive? After spitting on a child, like that is the nastiest thing you can do. But, let's try to love each other more than we hate each other.
Yes, and so I do believe in forgiveness, but I don't necessarily think that forgiveness means that I need to be in relationship with you. I can forgive you and let God do the work, but to be in relationship with you, that's a whole different ball game. So that's really interesting. I'm proud of you.
Area of growth.
Yeah. But let me tell you. So someone must have had a heart-to-heart with Ray Caruth because I found out that maybe a few days ago he withdrew his petition to have custody of his child. And I just think that that's just the right thing to do. I don't know what it's like being captive, having in prison and, having to go through all of the emotions that he has to go through, think about all the things he's going to have to think about. And then on top of that, try to love a child and try to take care of a child who has disabilities of that sort. And then, of course, the mother, she has to be involved. And this is a man that took her daughter's life. We can forgive you, but we do not have to have a relationship with you. And we do wish you well because we want you. And I do agree with Sherelle. Once you do your time, I just believe that society needs to give you a second chance so that you can come out and do some right things. So that we'll let God be the answer to that.
You know, that black grandmother probably was like, you don't want none of this. I suggest you stay away from me and my grandson.
Yes.
Because if you come over here, I'm going to do the next 18 years behind bars. So he probably just backed up. Before we go any further, I have to tell you, I went to CIAA this past weekend. Went down to Richmond on Wednesday, had a great time, left on Thursday, and got down to Charlotte bright and early, and then I needed a nap because I did too much already. And so from there, it was like Party City. One thing I learned, I think I was supposed to learn this last year, but I don't think I quite got it. But this year, I think I got it. I can only do day parties.
That's right.
No even plans to go out at night. I had planned to go out last Thursday night. I didn't make that party. But Friday morning, I was at the Virginia State Day Party, and Saturday morning, I was at the Dougie Fresh Party. And if you know anything about Dougie Fresh,
oh my goodness,
he throws down. He turns the party out. And so I had such a great time. I got up at 3:15 this morning, hit the road.
Dedication.
Rode back. Because, my real life had to resume. So that starts with being a soccer mom, going out to the soccer fields in Leesburg, Virginia, from Charlotte, and supporting my son on that soccer field. I'm gonna do a quick side story for you. My son know I don't play when it comes to soccer. All this money we playing for soccer, I'm gonna need you out on the soccer field. And so it was a college showcase. And so he had 2 games yesterday, played in the first game, scored in the first game, sent me a message talking about I owe him $20 for the goal. Second game, I called him because I didn't hear nothing. I'm like, what happened at the game? Oh, we won. I said, oh, how'd you play? I didn't play. I said, you say what? I didn't play. Why didn't you play soccer? My back was hurting. Oh. I was like, are you serious? I'm going to need you to take 2 Motrins and call me in the morning. You better be on that soccer field when I get there tomorrow. I'm not even playing. So, yes, he played today and played well. He had a header to somebody else who scored, so I'll take it.
Yes, go Jalen.
And then after Leesburg, I had to come to D.C. to do Sisters in Company talking about it.
Yes.
When I leave here, I got a 6 o'clock meeting for the women's conference. When I finish with that, I'm going deep down under.
Yes.
I have emailed all my clients and told them that for the next 7 days, I can't help nobody with nothing. I'm going to lay down from the time I get home tonight after this meeting until I get up again to take my son to either soccer practice or to go to the spa. That is it, and that's all.
Yes.
So don't nobody, please, y'all know I can't say no. Don't nobody invite me out to breakfast, lunch, or dinner for the next 7 days. No, I can't come to any parties. Well, maybe on Saturday I might. But other than that, just let me be.
Yes. And before we take our first break and welcome our company, Sherelle talked about the conference. The 3rd annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference is on March 24th. If you haven't gotten your tickets, you still have time. We're going to sell tickets all this month, and we will sell a few tickets at the door. But I encourage you to get off the fence, get your tickets, and come on to the conference because you will be blessed by the experience. And the other thing that we're going to do today is we're going to introduce our segment called That's My Story Too with the 2 young ladies that's coming on with us. So we want you to take out your pens. We want you to write down the telephone number to call in, 833-202-8255. And we're going to take a break. And when we return, we will introduce our company. Thank you.
Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle, and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle, and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep. What company do you keep?
Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Yes, thank you all for joining us again. As we mentioned earlier, we wanted to introduce our new segment, That's My Story Too. And let me just set that up for you. The ladies here today, I'm going to introduce them in a minute. They have some powerful stories to tell that some of us will be able to relate to. And when you hear some of the things that they say, you can say, that's my story too. And so that's what that segment is all about. So who do we have here today? We have Tanya Freeman and we have Coach Kelly Thompson. Now, you all should know who Kelly is. Kelly invited me on her show, and her show is here at Listen Vision Studios on Monday nights at 5 o'clock. So she's had me on the show. She let me host for her in her absence, and that's where I really got the idea for me and my sister to do a show at Listen Vision. So thank you for coming today, and we're going to let you all introduce yourselves, and then we're just going to get right into the topic of millennials parent too. Tanya,
thanks
speaking
for
to the
having
mic.
us. Thank you.
Yes.
I was previously Tanya Freeman.
Oh.
I am now Tanya Fletcher.
That's right. The F. That's
All
right.
right,
Get it straight. Yes. Yes.
But it's okay. I mean, it's just been 5 months, and
Yeah.
it's been a wonderful 5 months. But yes, my name is Tanya Fletcher, and I am a mom of 5 beautiful, 3 that I birthed, and I have 2 bonus kids. And I am an author.
Yes.
I am a healthcare administrator, and I just love life. I'm a minister, a servant of God, and thank you for having
And you all
me.
just opened the new restaurant.
Yes,
Give
yes, we
plug,
are,
girl.
Newly business owners. We have a restaurant called Nello's. It's a North Carolina soul food restaurant. So if you're in the Seat Pleasant area, or if you're not, please stop by at 6820 James Farmer Road, Seat Pleasant, Maryland, and we would love to have you.
And let me tell you about the ribs, the macaroni and cheese, and the barbecue sauce. Every time I see her, I'm like, are you serious? That's
Right.
baked macaroni and cheese? That's how good it is. So thank you. And Kelly?
Well, I'm Coach Kelly, of course.
My
I'm a
stylist.
stylist. I am a mom of 2 wonderful boys, and
Tell them their names if you don't mind.
Wisdom and Justice.
Love those names.
So,
Yeah.
You know, my husband Marty, and so also serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
I have several businesses, and so, but my primary goal is really to make Jesus famous through marketplace ministry.
You go ahead, girl.
right.
That's all right. And
All right,
Kelly
make
is
your
my
thing.
stylist. She this is who I go and get my hair done, and she's
And she
just
does an excellent
yeah,
job.
she's phenomenal. So we're going to jump right into the subject. And the reason I invited them on, every time I see Tanya in the hair salon, we're just chatting it up. And I think it was a couple weeks ago, Tanya just kind of started sharing her story with me, and I knew that we would do something on parenting. And so, Tanya, tell them a little bit about your story and how you went from A to business owner.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I don't have a problem with sharing my story, because I feel like if someone is going
Hold
to tell
on,
your
tell
story
them where you're from too.
here.
Yeah,
Oh
Southeast.
yeah. I'm from the hood of the hood in Northeast. I'm
Northeast.
originally from Paradise. If anyone know, you can Google it. You can find out about it. But yeah, so
Paradise.
I started out there. My dad died when I was around 13. And so at that time, my mom moved us to Maryland, which was in Seat Pleasant, where we currently own a business, Nello's. And so we wanted to bring it back to where, and that's where it kind of like started for us as far as going downward. At the age of 14, my mom became addicted to crack cocaine. And it just was really, really bad. With 3 kids, no father, addicted mom. You know, you in the 8th grade, and what do you do?
Right.
What do you do? And it's about survival at that point. And so I had my first child. We had a bunch of raised in the house because of the drugs. And anybody know if you have a crack cocaine parent, your house will become the drug house. And so mine did. But I knew that I just wanted to have my education.
Yes.
And I figured that my education would get me out of the hood. Originally, I wanted to be a physician, and so I was striving so hard. But at the age of 15, 16, I became, involved with a young man who was a drug dealer. At this point, I think I was sleeping on someone's couch because we had been evicted. So I didn't have a place to live, and so I became pregnant with my first son, who is 28. Yes, I had him at the age of 17. And so a lot of folks told me, your life is over. You will never be nothing. And if you're not confident in who you are, you will believe that.
Yes.
You would really believe that. And I knew one day that I would be someone.
Yes.
And I thank God, because I believe at an early age I had a relationship with God. That's all I had. I mean, really, that's all you have. And so I talked to God, and I said, I'm going to get through this. And I did. I graduated from high school. And at that time, my grandfather was like, well, you need to really just stop going to school. And I said, well, that's not an option for me. And so I went on and pursued my nursing degree. I was 19 at this time, and it was just still so much killing around me that I'm like, I need to leave this area. And so by the time I was 22, 23, I relocated to Atlanta to pursue my nursing degree, and came back because my mom was sick, and she eventually passed of cancer. I was about 25, 26, and I was pregnant at that time with my second child. And so it was tough, but through it all, I was determined to not allow myself to be a statistic.
Yes.
Even though I wasn't going to allow myself to be that. I knew that I was going to be successful, and it's nothing but God's grace and His mercy who really kept me, because a lot of people lose their mind.
Yes.
They really do. They don't know anything about persevering. They're just trying to survive each day. But I had a long-term plan and a long-term outlook on where I wanted my life to be.
Yes.
And so, yes, I just stay here humbled by God allowing me to get through.
Yes, and I wanted her to tell that story because, as you all know, I have a book out entitled Mind Your Mind, #think about it, because you have to, when you're going through, you have to be mindful of the thoughts that you allow to penetrate your mind, and what is it that you believe. And so thank God you had that source, you had something that was beyond you to help you through it, but you had to take some action. It just wasn't. And so what made you want to go to nursing school?
Well, at the time, when my father passed, talking about AIDS was just out of it.
Right.
And so I never knew that my dad died of AIDS because they told us that it was cancer. And so I said, well, I want to be this physician. I have this child now. How am I going to do this and still be there for my son?
Yes.
So I said, well, I'll do nursing because I wanted to get to the root of this cancer thing.
Right.
And so I started studying on it. My anatomy classes helped me understand it. Then eventually I found out that he died of AIDS, which was still fine with me. It's not an embarrassment on me. It was a drug use. I mean, what was to be expected back then. And so that's why I really wanted to help some other families to understand the diseases that plague their family.
Yes.
So how did you find out that it was AIDS?
I heard somebody talking about it in the house.
Okay.
About his drug
secrets.
use. Again, it was a lot of secrets.
Yes.
And it's a lot that go on in family molestations, drugs and all of that other stuff. Families just don't want to talk about it. I know in the African community, we don't.
That's exactly right.
And so I overheard someone talking about his drug use. I never knew that he even did drugs. I used to tell my friends, oh, he's away in the military. He was locked up.
Oh.
Yes, because you didn't want to share that. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know. They just told us that
Oh,
he
you
was
didn't know?
away.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you made a
I just made it up. Military. Where else could he be? Really, where else could he be?
Yeah, and that's what a child will do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I made it up.
Yeah,
I did. I made it up. I lied. But I didn't know I was lying.
That's a
'Cause
whole
you didn't
nother
know.
show, Family
Family
Secrets.
Absolutely. Yes.
It made me really want to go into healthcare. I eventually came out of clinical, and now I'm on the admin side of healthcare, which I
Yes.
still love because I think I'm still helping families.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so to have Tanya here, it's all about how we can persevere through our situations. And we just have to have a made up mind, and we have to be determined. You were a young woman at 21, 22, just deciding to pick up and go to Atlanta to try to start a better life. And so God bless you for that. So, you come from what's the name of the area?
Yes, it's Paradise.
I've never heard of Paradise.
I know, I'm sure.
That's an interesting name. You came from Paradise
Yes.
to business owner. You know,
Yes.
raising your children and doing well and just taking care of your family
Yes.
as you're supposed to. So bless you for that.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Absolutely.
And
That's
so Kelly,
Okay, so I think my story, one part of my story is that when I was about 15 or 16 years old, just having a knock at our door and being evicted.
yes.
Just kind of like in the middle of the night. And I remember, of course, it's, still dark outside, it's the middle of the night, there's a sheriff, someone's banging on your door, they're telling you to evacuate. So I had to literally leave with everything that we had in that moment, like whatever I can kind of like put in a hefty bag, and everything else that I walked away from, I had never been able to recover. And so having that, being in a position of homelessness, I think that not only at the age of 15, but also at the age of 18, living in a hotel on Allentown Road, and being pregnant, losing a child, losing a fiance, and just really being hopeless. And I remember the day that my life changed. I remember the day when I was miscarrying, and I was laying in the hotel on Allentown Road, and my fiance, who broke up with me once I got pregnant, you know how that is, teenage man, we're going to get married, then I'm pregnant, it gets real, they get out of there. And so, thank God, I had a foundation of some sort, and I was going to a church named Spirit of Faith, and they taught us how to practice what you call mindfulness and be able
Yes.
to be somewhere that you're not.
Yes.
And so during that time of me going in a hotel, I always remember that it was temporary. And that was one of the things that I often said to myself. So me laying there bleeding, having this man come and visit me for 10 minutes and then leave, and then I was facing a wall. And of course, when you're at a hotel of a great place, there's no pictures on the wall.
Right.
It's usually a concrete wall. And so I'm looking at a concrete wall,
Yes.
and I had to make a decision because
That's
one of
it.
the things that they gave me, this young woman, was a bottle of Percocet. And that's a strong combination to give to
Yes,
somebody
yes.
when they're hopeless or they're in a situation where they feel like their life is over, and to hand them something as strong as Percocet, which now we know is an epidemic of people
Opioids.
on
Opioids.
on these medications,
Yes.
and they become strung out on them, and they do all kinds of things for these medicines. And so I remember that one voice saying, just take the whole bottle.
Yes.
He don't love you. You don't got nowhere to go. You bleeding out. Ain't nobody here for you.
Oh, wow.
You facing a wall. This the lowest you could go. And because this was the second time that I was experiencing homelessness, I really was like, this could just be it for me. Let this just be. And so then I heard the voice of God literally say, you will get double for your shame.
My God.
And that, for me, is what
Yes.
caused me to win. And I believe in that moment, Coach Kelly was birthed.
All right.
that
Yes.
moment.
Isn't that
That
something?
moment. Yes.
In
That
that
moment.
And I said there will never be another sister that's going to face the wall and be
Yes.
alone on my
Yes,
watch.
that's
Oh,
right.
that's
You go
right.
ahead.
Yes.
So that's my
Yes.
story.
And that is why I know that when you connect with people, it is not a coincidence. I've connected with these two young women, and Kelly actually is one of my speakers at my conference because they have stories to tell about, yes, these things happened, but we did not let these things define who we were in a negative sense. It defined who you were because the real you had to come out of that situation, right? And so, and what I like about both of these young ladies is that they are willing to reach back, right? And that's what we're trying to do. My sister and I, we're
Yes.
reaching back and we're pulling them along, and I'm learning a lot from them as well. So it's a two-way relationship, no doubt about it. And so, Sherelle?
I was just going to say, our journeys are an amazing thing.
Yes.
And, we often ask ourselves, why me? Why not? Who would you rather it be? And,
Right.
and while you wishing your journey on somebody else, you really don't even want their journey.
That's right.
Because when you think you have a story to tell, you should listen to somebody else's story.
Yes.
And I promise you, their story is probably worse than what your story is. And so, I commend you all for, holding fast in your faith, and also in your ability to rise above all of the negativity. And I can only imagine that being a teenage mom, as Tanya said, people are saying, you should drop out of school, you can't do this, you're not going to make it, your life is over. And look at you now. You don't even have to say nothing. You should just smile at them.
Yes, wink.
Right. And
Yes.
look at me now.
Yes, absolutely. And to be such strong women, did you all have any models that you looked at? I know you were in your stuff, but was there anybody around you that you could look at to glean some type of hope because of how they were living their lives?
I didn't. I did not until a certain point. I didn't come to Spirit of Faith until the year of 1995. That was a few months before my mom passed. So prior to that, I didn't. I did not. I didn't see any healthy relationships. I didn't see anyone around me being successful and persevering and enduring. So all of this, literally on the inside of me, is nothing but God.
Yes.
Because I had nobody to look up to until after a certain point. And then once I came to Spirit of Faith, I saw hope.
Yes.
I did. I saw hope. I saw possibilities. And I was like, oh, man, so I can be something?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can be married?
Yes.
Oh, I can be this. And so I really take my hat off to them for instilling those things in me, because I'm telling you, before then, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I was going to make it. So they kind of like gave me a roadmap,
Yes.
if you will, of how I can do that. And I worked every one of those steps. I have to pat myself on the back.
That's right. Go ahead, girl.
That's all
No,
right.
seriously.
Sometimes folks go to church.
Yes.
And they hear the word, but they don't put no foot into action.
Yes.
The Bible says faith without
Works
works
is
is dead.
dead.
And
No
so if
doubt.
you're not out here working the principles and everything and applying those things to your life, you're not going anywhere. You're not. And so I just thank God for that foundation.
Yes.
So prior to that, I didn't have any. But once I got there, I was committed to doing that word.
Absolutely. And this wasn't going to even be a part of the show, but when people talk about the church not being relevant, just listen to their stories. They go to a church, Spirit of Faith. What's your pastor's names?
Mike Friedman.
Mike.
I don't go
There anymore. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's where you got your foundation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so when people say that churches are not relevant, I beg to differ.
Yeah.
And it's all about what you take away from the experience, right?
No
They
doubt.
planted the seed, they gave you a roadmap, and you worked it,
Yes.
and you were successful.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of times people go out for inspiration, but inspiration is void if application is not. If application is not done, you have to make that application.
Yes.
And for me, I had a cousin. Her name is Dion, and she was not so much a spiritually based person, but I remember her taking us in.
Yes.
And I remember one day I was in her room, and she had all these clothes and all these shoes. And I just was like, wow, she got it going on. And I looked on the other side of her wall, and it was almost like Mary Jane with all of these quotes and all of these timelines and all
Yes.
of these goals. And it was like she had this vision board, and she
Yes.
had like, okay, I want to save $10,000. And she was scratching it out like 8. Like she had a plan
Wow.
of action. And so to see my cousin, and I don't even know if she knows the impact that she made. I tell her, but I don't know if she really knows. Like after that, I went in my room, and it was all 5 of us in her house in one room, and we put our beds together. And my mom, my dad, and my 2 brothers, we all slept all in that same little cocoon together. And I had my little side, and I wrote everything down.
Yes.
And it's like within 8 months, we was out of there.
Isn't that something? That's how God works. My God.
Posting your goals work. The word says that when you write the vision and make it plain.
Yes.
And I think that was the launching pad to success for our family.
Yes.
Well,
and-
and I don't know about other countries, but in our country, we have a lot of nifty sayings that we live by, and we are so quick to repeat them. Like, for example, you could be anything you want to be, but
Right.
that's just an empty saying as far as I'm concerned. And then, like you said, until you start applying, and as Tanya said, start listening.
Yes.
Because it's somebody out here who could tell you better. And if you start to listen to what people are telling you, then you can be what you want to be. You know, you don't have to have all the answers yourself. You don't have to necessarily learn how to be all you can be the hard way. You know, sometimes there's an easy route to being what you want to be. And sometimes we just have to listen and apply what people are telling us and then move forward.
And I think you have to listen with a spirit of discernment. Listen with a
stuff.
spirit of discernment, because God will send the right people to you to make sure that you get his word in terms of how it impacts your life. And to me, that is just so very important. And again, these ladies, you know, they're demonstrating to us that everybody has a story. That the part about me too, that's my story too, is Sherelle and I have experienced family members who've been on drugs, been addicted to drugs. And so that's a hard, you know, that's a long story, first of all.
Yes.
But it's a very difficult thing to watch.
It really is.
Right? And you're
It
trying
really
to live
is.
your life. You're trying to be the best that you can be. And that's why I always say, parents, don't tell your children to do as you say and not as you do, because they're watching what you're doing, and they may not do it right then, but sometimes they're going to end up doing it.
Yes.
You know, so what kept you all from doing what you saw your parents doing?
I made a decision early on. I mean, it's really just me making a decision. And I don't know if my siblings are watching, and I don't know if they made a decision, because, again, you don't really talk about those type of things. But I know, like, and not to put all of my mom's and my family business out, but I'm free.
Yes.
I am, I'm free in it.
Right.
And so I remember at 7, 8, and 9, my mom having different guys in and out of her bedroom. And I knew then that I will never be that mother. And I'm telling you, I worked that. I saw her doing the drugs, and I said, I will never do that. So the more I saw, the more I said I wasn't going to do it. So some people fall into that trap because I don't think that they make a decision. Because they see it so much around them. A lot of
That's
times,
right.
you know, we become a product of our environment.
Yes.
Yes.
I refuse to be a product of my environment.
Yes.
I was determined that wasn't going to be my story. That wasn't going to be my life. I was not going to wind up like that. And then because I know as a result of that led her to make the decisions that she made.
Right. Yes.
She really, and so I became strong in my thinking at a very early age. And so for me, it was just me making a decision.
Are you the oldest?
I am not the oldest.
Oh, okay.
People think that I am. but
Okay.
I'm not.
All
I'm
right.
next
People
to the
think that
baby.
about me too.
Yes. You're next to the baby.
Yes.
Okay. How many
Yes.
siblings?
I have 4 siblings.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
2 older brothers and 1 younger sister.
Wonderful.
But I just refuse, and not to say that it was all clean.
Right.
Because
Right.
some
Right,
of the
'cause it's-
decisions I
Yeah.
made,
Yes.
you know, was probably some of the decisions that my mom made, but it wasn't that to the extent. And so even still to this day, I have to consciously tell myself, do better, do better. So every day I can do better than I did yesterday. So I'm by far not perfect at all, but I knew that wasn't going to be my life.
Yes.
Well, you know what's interesting? My mother had a lot of sayings too. And so one of her sayings was, it's your business until you involve me in it, and then it becomes my business. And I could tell whatever I want to about my business.
That's right.
So when we
That's
start
right.
talking on this show about some real talk,
That's our
Yeah.
business.
I'm only going to tell my business. I'm not going to tell my
your
mama's
business.
business. I'm not going to tell my daddy's business. I'm only going to tell the business that they involved me in. And I have a right to tell my story
There
if
you
that's
go.
what
You
I
gotta
want to
go
do.
ahead.
And anybody can be mad if they want to about it, but they shouldn't have made it my story.
That's right. They should have involved you.
They shouldn't have had me involved.
When I
So
had
we going
my,
to talk about it.
Yeah.
when I had my children, I decided that the things that we saw in my family, I wasn't going to have my kids to see.
Yes.
So my kids
Yes.
didn't see
Yes.
any men rolling in my bed.
Right.
They didn't see any men in and out of my house. They didn't see me drinking and smoking and doing all of that. Even if I did, they wouldn't have saw it. Because I believe that more is caught than taught.
Yes.
So you can tell somebody something all day, but if you're doing something in front of me opposite of what you're
Yes,
telling
that's
me,
right.
you're a hypocrite.
That's correct.
But I purposely made
Yes,
sure
that's
that
good.
I
I don't know
about that,
my
Mom.
kids,
We
'cause
gon'
that's
we gon'
not
talk
gonna be
about
their
that.
story. They're not gonna be on y'all show.
Yeah,
Say
talking
one
about
day,
you.
talking about
Yeah,
me.
come on with it.
I say this because I remember when I wrote my first book, and I remember going over, and I remember when I sent my first edits to my mom, and my mom was like, "So you gonna tell everything?"
Yeah.
You know? So she was kind of like trying to tell me how to say it without saying it. And I mean, as I'm going through it, I was like feeling that, like, no,
Right.
I gotta be transparent.
Yes.
This is my story.
It is.
It is.
And she was like, but that's gonna put them out there. I said, I don't care.
Yes.
Right.
I said, because the extent of what happened needs to be told. Because if I'm gonna give glory to God,
Yes.
like,
you gotta tell the truth.
and sometimes people
shame
do
the devil.
it's like, oh, surface. But if God knew that and that's why I say where the hotel was. Because I can say, oh, I lived in a hotel, you could just think it's fancy. No, it's on Allentown Road. It was ratchet. So I need you to know that it was ratchet. I need you to know that it was a concrete wall. I need you to know how it looked.
Right.
Because that's a point of reference to say that's how dark it could have been. Because the enemy, when he's trying to take your life, it's never in a good place.
Never.
Right.
It's never in a place that you expected yourself to be in. And I had to take personal responsibility that that's the place that I chose to be. I chose
Personal
to have that testimony. I didn't have to have that testimony.
That's
because
right. Say that again,
I didn't
Kelly.
have to have that testimony. That didn't even have to be a part of my script. But it was a part of my script because I chose to go outside of God's order.
Yes. Yes.
That was it.
Yes.
I chose to go outside of God's order, have a baby by somebody I shouldn't have not even had a baby by, that was not my husband. But because you have this expectation, well, as long as we engage, as long as we got this ring, it's okay. It was
Yes.
all right. So to me, that was my ring on it.
Yes.
So sometimes you got to even
Yes.
watch that. Like, girl, I got my ring and we was engaged. But sometimes people know who you are. They know the substance that you walk in. So they'll give you anything to get you there. But once they get you there, they leave you.
Yes.
That's right.
So you got to be
About to hit
careful.
you.
I'm
He
telling
gonna
you.
hit you.
You
Yes.
gotta be careful because the enemy will set you up even in your standards.
Yes, even in your standards. That's right. Let me tell you all something. This conversation is so powerful. We want you to call in. If you heard any part of this story that you can say, that's my story too. Please call in 833-202-8255 and give us your comments or ask us any questions. We're going to take a short break and we're going to come back to you shortly.
Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Welcome back. That was such a powerful conversation. And before we move on, one of the things we did not say is that Tanya and Kelly are best friends. And so tell us a little bit about that. That's just how God works.
I don't even know where to start. I mean,
Where did you all
I
meet?
remember Tanya.
Did you live in Paradise?
No, I
Okay.
didn't. We met at Spirit of Faith. And it just like one day, I think we just had a conversation. That was it. That was
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was so long ago. I can't even remember the year.
Yes.
But it's just, she's always been there. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And I think I always say that friendship is a ministry. But she shows up.
Yes, she does. I see her.
If I could just say this girl shows up. That's it.
Yes.
She shows up. She may not know what I need. She just show up. And that to me speaks so much volumes because I think a lot of times in relationships people go, well, I ain't know what to say. I don't know what to
Right.
You know, for me it's just like you have to show up for each other.
Tanya?
Kelly shows up for me too.
That's right.
And I don't show up because she show up, and she
Right.
doesn't show up because I show up. I think that's just who we are.
Yes.
That is who Kelly is. I mean,
Yes,
I
it
don't care
is. Yeah.
who is in need. It could be her enemy. She's going to be there to
Yeah.
show up. She really is. I mean, I remember going through a health challenge, and she's been there probably through all of my health challenges. she's the reason why my book is here. She really is. I mean, because I don't think I would have written or published it or whatever, but I remember being in a hospital bed one time. I don't know if I was at home. I don't know where it was. And she was just there. I couldn't really have any visitors, and I didn't want any, but she was there. She didn't say anything. She was just there, her presence alone.
Yes.
And that was deep into our friendship or whatever, but she knew what I needed.
Yes.
Even in that moment, in my darkest days.
Because she couldn't, at that moment, she wasn't talking. She couldn't talk. The
Yes.
radio couldn't be on. There was no kiki. There was no, you got to just picture that.
Yes.
It was not, it was, because when you are free from migraines, but when you're dealing with it in that moment, it's like everything makes it worse. So just picturing being in a dark room and just still being there.
Yes.
And it's like, for me, it was like, I just could not just not be there. That's just what it was. And even in that moment, it was times I wanted to talk and be like, but I just was like, we on a mission.
That's right.
We on a battlefield.
Yeah.
Hey, we ain't talking nothing. We have a sniper on the wall. That's how I felt at that moment. Because when you have a friend, God bless you with a friend, you that warrior inside, like, you can't have that person.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate her fighting for me. I appreciate you fighting, because I often say, whichever man in you is the weakest, that's the one that's going to succumb. So if your spirit man is weak and your flesh man is strong, your flesh is going to win. And so my spirit at times was so weak.
Yes.
And I was just laying there, and she was like, what do you need me to do? What you want me to do? Because she felt helpless.
Yes.
She
Absolutely.
did.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, just give me the word.
Yes.
So she started reading the word, and I remember her recording me talking, and never knew that was going to be a book.
Yes.
I didn't, but I wanted to share my journey along the way, because so many people do not understand about the disease, and they think, oh, I just got a headache. Well, you need to be sensitive even if I have a runny nose.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
Come
really,
on.
don't just say I have a runny nose. Oh, you got a runny nose again? No,
Right.
it's just not. So you're gonna be my friend with a runny nose, with Parkinson's or whatever.
That's
don't
right.
don't tell me, oh, it's just a runny nose.
Yes.
So I appreciate her being there. I mean, not just even through illness, but just in everything. Like when we opened up our restaurant
Yes,
last
yes,
month,
I was
or
there.
whatever it was. This
Yes.
chick right here, can I say chick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This chick closed down all of her businesses.
Yes, she
all
did.
of them. So you know how much money that is in a day.
Yes.
But she didn't care about that. You could not have told her that Nello's was not her brand.
That's right. I thought she worked there. When I got there, I was looking around. And she was working it, doing whatever she needed to
But
do.
not even just for that day, because
Yes.
camera lights and actions was going
Yes.
on. But that whole week and weeks leading, after that and everything, I would look up and she would close her boutique and hair salon. She would be coming over there calling, I'm on my way. Even if it was just 5 minutes left,
Yes.
she wanted to close down with us, clean up and everything. So I
Yes.
appreciate it. It's amazing how God has crossed us. And
Yeah.
I know that our footsteps are definitely ordered of the Lord, but I never could imagine that it would be this intertwined.
Yes.
I mean, really, like we're sitting here
Yes.
on a talk show
Yes.
with similar testimonies,
Yes.
similar backgrounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't even know we ever really got into depth about our background together. We may have
Not
known
that
certain
Some
story.
pieces
pieces,
and all
yes,
of that.
absolutely.
Maybe not that
But,
story.
yeah.
And that's where God
Yeah.
planted me. He
Exactly.
planted me in that, so that
Yeah.
story can come out.
Yeah, no, and not only that, he's showing us more.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
showing us you
Yeah.
have been used in a willing
Yeah.
vessel and obedient
Yeah.
to show us more, because we have some things coming up. We're writing a book together
Yes,
about
yes.
friendships
Friendship
or whatever.
book.
But I
Yes.
see more of this.
Yeah.
I do.
Absolutely.
I see more of
Yeah.
this,
And you-
'cause there's so much more to be told.
Yes.
There's so much
And anything
more.
that your mind can conceive, it can be.
Absolutely.
No doubt
Yeah.
about it. And that's one of the things. And that's why people that know me, I'm all about the mindset, because whatever your mind can conceive, it can be. And I think, Sherelle, you wanted to say something when we came back.
Yeah, when we were talking about, our stories, not wanting to put our parents' business out in the street, and my mother, with her lovely sayings, I'm gonna see how she like it when I tell my story. Probably ain't gonna like that saying no more. Probably ain't gonna be a good idea, but gonna wish she never had that saying. But one thing I love is being an adult. Because the fear factor is removed.
They can't threaten you anymore.
Can't threaten me no more. I'm like, is that all you have? My mother used to say, I'll walk to Virginia. And I used to didn't say nothing back then, but now I'll be like, show me. So the fear factor is removed. And I tell you, I look forward to the day. I've never really shared my story.
Yeah, we're gonna share
but
our
I tell
story.
you, I look forward to the day to releasing that story and just kind of, sharing it because I'm sure as you all had a story, we have some similarities.
That's why we
and that's my story
too.
too. And when I tell my story, my mother
Yes.
is gonna be mad.
Yes, she ain't gonna
and
speak to us for a
mad.
long
It's
time.
all right.
But you're selling out of love.
Yeah, yeah,
But because
absolutely.
at
Absolutely.
the end of the day, the story has to come full circle
Absolutely.
about how God was in the midst of it at always, right?
Always.
All the time, and how it's about courage, love, and forgiveness. And
Right.
so you're right. This is our story. It had an impact on us. If you didn't want it to be our story, you
Shouldn't have
shouldn't
gave
have
it to
made
us.
it our story.
And hold on. And one last thing, when you talk about coming full circle,
Yes,
the story
full
ain't
circle.
all bad.
No,
and
no.
I tell you this, I thank God for my mama giving us the confidence that we have because I
Oh,
tell
yes.
you, looking at other women who lack confidence and self-esteem, it's a sad thing. And so the story ain't all bad,
No,
but
but it's a
it ain't
story.
all good either, but it's our story and we gonna tell it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
But I
Kelly?
was just going to say that God is, like you said, Dr. Sharon, that God is in the tough moments because
Yes, he
that
is.
same hotel, I would leave and I would go do radio shows.
That's right. Oh,
And
wow.
I told you that part.
Yes, you
where,
did. You did.
I would do things like Golden Scissors Awards, and winning national awards. No one even knew that I lived in a hotel. Even just people that I knew, I never even told them. They didn't even know that part about me because at that moment, like I said, once I decided that day that this is temporary, until it manifests, I continue to say that it was temporary. And when I would go into, I will never forget walking into, I had washed my clothes in the sink, and I went to WOL with 1340. What's the guy
Winston
name?
Chaney.
Winston Chaney. I was on the Winston Chaney show, and I will never forget that he was like, "Oh, it's Kelly Sudan," because I was winning awards all over the nation and traveling and doing all kinds of things with Bonner Brothers and going all over the world and doing celebrities and all kinds of stuff. And I lived in a hotel, so I would go to great
My
places
God.
and nice places and come home to that.
Yes.
But I knew that it was temporary.
Yes. Yes.
I knew. I said, "This is not it." I didn't know the future, but I knew that was
wasn't
not it.
Yes.
The blessed thing about it is that when you're going through, no one should know that you're going through. I tell women all the time, fix your hair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Put your makeup
Sherelle.
on.
Don't disappoint your public. That's our saying on this show.
Nobody should know that you don't have nothing but lint balls in your pocket. Nobody should know. There should be no residue on your life of what you're going through
Right.
if you're working towards something.
Right.
Because you knew that was temporary, no one should have known. It's all for God to get the glory
That's it.
for your testimony.
My
but
God.
nobody have to know. Everybody would be like, I didn't even know you even was homeless. I never knew your mom was this and that or whatever. You would not have been able to tell that. You shouldn't.
That's
so
grace.
Don't
I like
look
that.
like
Yeah, that
you're-
is grace.
Whatever you're facing, and if I can encourage you, don't look like what you're going through. It could be a bad marriage. Man, please, what? Hey, ain't nobody gonna know. Nobody should know.
Nobody should know.
Yeah.
You
but
have your key people, but that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
And just as it happens every week, the hour is upon us, and this is such a powerful conversation. We're gonna have to do something about that within our next contract. Hopefully, extend this conversation because it's so powerful. And so, can you tell everyone how to get in contact with you before we close out the show?
Go ahead.
I'm Coach Kelly on all fronts. So all
Yes.
social media, Coach Kelly website, Coach Kelly Speaks. Everything is Coach Kelly Speaks.
Yes.
And my website is freemaninspires.com. You can order my books off of there. And on social media, I'm Tanya Fletcher. On Facebook and Instagram, I am Freeman Inspires.
Yes. And Sherelle, you have any parting words?
I love being an adult.
Yes.
The fear factor has been removed. Let's do it.
Yes, and so thank you all so much for tuning in. Tanya, you will be seeing a lot of Tanya and Kelly. I'm not sure if you're gonna make it to the conference, but I know Kelly will be there
I'll
because
be
she's
there.
one of the speakers. Yay! And I didn't mean to put you on blast. So
Amanda, she done
get
called you out.
get your tickets to the 3rd annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference on Eventbrite.com. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on next Sunday.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Yes.